Story time of how this Toronto trip actually happened. I can't fully believe that we actually did what we just did. This one was a little crazier than Indy. This is going to be a three-part story time. Part one, I want to explain to you guys how this all came together. Part two, I'll talk about the concert. I want to kind of compare my two experiences. And part three, we met Jason, and I will tell you exactly who Jason is. This is literally my interaction with Jason and what led up to all of this. So he had messaged me, I think it was like Wednesday, during some of the queue nonsense, and he messaged me just about the map glitch, and my whole response was just a glitch, which I do try to respond to like every DM I get. It's a lot. Sometimes I don't get to all of them, but I try and give at least everyone some kind of response. You took the time to reach out to me. I can take a couple seconds to respond. Friday night, 5:21. So this is night two of the show. He messages me, and just out of the blue, says, "Hi, did you get tickets yet? I've been following you, appreciating you." And he says, "I have two for tonight." Now, I'm in Pennsylvania. It's 5 o'clock. Taylor's on stage in 2 hours. I can't go. And I just say, "Hey, man, I really wish I could take advantage of the offer, but I am 7 hours away." And he says, "Oh, I was just going to gift them to you." Sets off the immediate, "this guy's probably not a scammer" signal. Scammers don't usually just offer to give you the tickets for free. So I'm a little skeptical, obviously, but this feels like a more genuine conversation, given even the brief history of it. And I say, "All right, cool. I appreciate the offer. If it was for tomorrow, I'd be in the car." And he tells me what seats he had, which were C3 row 9. And he goes, "What do you want for tomorrow? I'll arrange today." I'm thinking, like, you gotta be kidding me. And this is 7 o'clock Friday night. I'm literally having dinner with my son. You know, I'm like half believing this, half not. And I didn't say a word to Milo because I didn't want to get his hopes up at this point. I figured I'm going to play through this game to make sure this isn't a complete charade before we do anything. You know, he's like, "Where do you want, dude?" I'm like, "Anywhere. Like, I will sit, I'll hang from the rafters, you know, whatever. I'm not picky. Just But I did say, like, honestly, if I can have my choice, I'd prefer to sit in the stands. I'm not tall. Floor's tough for kids. I'd rather be in the stands. I would have gladly sat on the floor if that's what you could get." And I said, "Look, yeah, like, if you want to do this, like, we could be there tomorrow early afternoon, right? It's about 7, 8 hours drive. I figured if we got on the road first thing in the morning, we could be there in time for the show." And his response is, "Okay, need an hour to figure it out." And I'm like, "Well, I'm not going anywhere. I'm in Philly." That's what our preferences were. Says, "I'll make it work. You deserve it." I'm like, "Okay." It's feeling genuine. This feels like a real human being who is just a fan who has some ability to pay it forward. And that night before I go to bed, about 10:30 or something, you know, I haven't heard from him in a little bit. It's been quiet. And I just write back and I say, "Should I be driving to Toronto in the morning?" Basically, like, you know, you haven't given me anything firm. You've said you're going to do it, but, like, I don't know you from Adam, and am I going to put my blind faith in this guy? But he says, "Yes, I'll get some today." And that's at 5 a.m. So I wake up about 6:30, and I'm like, "Dude, like, this is a big ask. Like, you're asking me to drive 7 hours with my kid to a different country on just this." And he basically gets back to me saying, "I know some people. If you want to try to wait until next weekend, we can, but it's going to be harder to get those tickets," which I understand. It's night 6. It's going to be a disaster. I got back to say, "Hey, we're talking about it. Do you have any proof? Do you have anything you can show me, screenshots?" And his response, which you can sort of see at the top there, is like, "Hey, I'm taking care of a bunch of billionaires in town. I was doing Shabbat dinners last night," which was ironic because I was at synagogue when he messaged me. But he's like, "Oh, I was making challah." This ends up being a clue for something later. And, you know, he just is like, if you put it out as an intention, it's going to work, right? It's almost like a test. In a weird way, I felt like I was being tested of, like, are you willing to do this to show that, like, you deserve it to be the person that I'm going to pay it forward to? I'm believing him at this point that he knows people. I'm believing him that he has connections, and but he clearly is like wants me to show that we're serious about this. I discussed with my wife. I look at her. I go, "Is this crazy?" She said, "Well, let's ask Milo. Let's see what he thinks." And we asked him, and he's like, "Let's try it. Let's go for it. Maybe it'll be real." All right, fine. We're hitting the road. We're doing it. Like I said, I'd love it if you gave me some actual proof that this is real before we do it. But we're gonna trust you. I said, "I want to trust you more than a rational version of me probably would." But, you know, we're living for the hope of it all at this point. Here, right about 8 a.m., he goes, "I'll have some for sure." I say, "All right, we're coming." We start driving up. It's about 8:30 in the morning. He just said, "Okay." And I checked in with him every time we had a rest stop, just kind of letting him know, like, we're on the way. We're really doing this. Like, please, for the love of God, be telling the truth here. And then you can see at the bottom, I said, like, "When do you get the tickets?" This is me at 12:30. It's lunchtime. I am starting to get more and more panicked that, like, I'm leading my son into the greatest disappointment of his life. And I'm like, dude, when do you get these tickets? And he just said, I confirmed. He's saying he has tickets. But again, I don't have the tickets. He still has the tickets. We're officially in Canada when we crossed the border. Kind of let him know when we were getting close to the hotel. Asked him, what's the ETA and the tickets? His response is just, you made it. And I'm like, okay, this is great. I love that you're being responsive. I love that he didn't ghost us at all. Like, he was very responsive throughout the day. Leaving the airport, I had to do some private jets. I didn't know quite what that meant at the time, but again, man is pretty clearly claiming he's got connections. And he said, heading back downtown and I'll get them transferred. Great. Well, we're heading downtown too without tickets. At the top there, you can see around 5 o'clock, this is us boarding the GO train, being like, look, man, my anxiety is really high here. It's 5:09. The concert is in an hour and a half. I don't have tickets. And he goes, oh, I thought I'd wait till you got to the door. And people pay big money for that rush. Do you have the map out? And I'm thinking, like, this is getting so weird. Could you just transfer me the tickets? And we're on the train. I just need peace of mind. Can you please tell me, like, can I have the tickets? What gate should we go to? Like, what are we doing here? I'm just trying to be excited. I want to build the hype. I guess he probably was, maybe he'd seen some of my videos throughout the day of me, like, going up there and being to you guys, like, I don't know what's going on, but we're going to Toronto. This is crazy. So he's leading me into the hype, maybe. I don't know. And I go, yeah, I got the seating map up. No problem. He wants to make sure the tickets are okay before they transfer. And I'm like, yeah, we're looking at it. 23A, row 7. And my response is, dude, that's incredible. That seat is directly behind home plate, like about 15 rows up from the field if you count the mini section in front of it. All week when I was live, when people would ask me, like, if you could pick where to sit in the stadium, all week long, I basically said I'd want to sit in the 20s, not all the way down. If you could have dropped a pin on the map of, like, where I would have been talking about, you would have been within about 10 yards of exactly where our seats were. They were perfect. He even says, look, these seats are literally $12,000 seats on StubHub right now. Now is to teach your son the real lesson. Take the cash and turn around. Not in a million years. No way. The experience is better than the money. He said, good. You deserve it. Don't forget to mention me. And that's our part 1. When we went to this concert, I still didn't really know who this guy was other than the name Jason. So part 2, I'm going to talk more about the concert itself and what the experience was like, compare it to Indy a little bit. Give you guys just my feeling about what it was like seeing Taylor again and share that experience with my son. So that's coming in part 2. And in part 3, we met Jason. And I will tell you all about him.